Everybody? Anybody want to sit down? We have a few seats. You want to sit down? Seats over on this side. Feel free to come on in. You okay? You good? Everybody good? Oh, there you go. I think it's good. If anybody wants to sit down, there are plenty of seats on this side. We're going to get started here in just 1 second. I think we've got everybody here. We've got a few people trying to feed themselves, which is good. That's the most important. So welcome. This is we're really excited to have all of you here, all the athletes here, all of the people coming in to kind of support you, the crews, the aid station, the volunteers. We want to do something a little bit different and have an opportunity for you to kind of meet some of the people that really run at the top of this sport and really kind of help, develop some of the things that we're really working on. One of the first things I want to do tonight, we're going to kind of get to the group here. We're going to keep it really informal. Andy Jones Wilkins with me tonight. Andy, wave your hand back there. Andy, yeah, Mr. Top 10 Western State guy. He's been a couple times, right, Andy? Yeah, you. We're going to get Andy involved. But what we'd like to do, one of the things I like to do first of all is talk a little bit about kind of how this got started in the general picture. We're really fortunate tonight, and I'm going to try to embarrass him if I can, but we have the person who really started the whole concept of getting companies involved to support some athletes who like to go out and run for an insanely long period of time. And when you think about the amount of time it takes all of us to do the sport that we love, from training, skipping work, being away from family and that sort of thing, it's really, you got to have support. And some people need support in different ways. Well, I'm going to ask Scott McCoubrey. Scott, stand up. I'm going to ask Scott to say a couple words. Scott McCoubrey, everybody. Scott McCoubrey, back a number of years ago, he's going to give you more details, but Scott was really the person who really brought sponsorship to the sport of ultra distance running. Scott's going to give you just a little bit of background of how he pulled that together, how well it went and didn't go. A little bit about my relationship with Scott and the company. There was a wave early on of where Scott got involved with some of the athletes he's going to talk about. Francesca and I were very fortunate there, probably 4 or 5 years into that, to get involved with the same company and help them with some of the things they were doing. But Scott had just been instrumental to helping that part and that aspect of this sport. Not only to bring the athletes to the forefront, starting some of the great races. He's the race director of White River out in the West, and a number of things. He's doing some great things now, with some different shoe companies and that sort of thing. But Scott's going to tell you a little bit about kind of how all this started.
Sure. I didn't prep for this, but I'm pretty good at talking off the cuff, and stop me if I talk for too long, okay? Yeah, it was real interesting. I mean, I got into the sport like many of you did, and was fanatical about it, and grew up as a downhill ski racer and started running, and then went out and did the Boston Marathon, and then found out there was this 50-mile race at Crystal Mountain where I grew up skiing, and I was like, wow, 50 miles, man, and that's pretty cool. And I think I'm going to try it. I'm like, heck, there's 75 other people do it. I could probably do it too. And so I went out, and it was one of the most empowering things I'd ever experienced. And that was the White River 50-mile race, which my wife and I now direct out near Crystal Mountain, Washington, right near Mount Rainier. Very beautiful course if you're going to come out and get a little tour of Mount Rainier and the Northwest Cascades. But I was so into it, and I'm the type of person that I don't do things just part way. And so life started revolving around running on the trails, and I said, I had to figure out, how am I going to make a living doing this? Well, this sport really, there weren't a whole lot of venues there. There was no sponsorship going on. And so I started, and I worked within the industry as a sales rep for K2 Sports and doing some outdoor brands and things like that. And at that time, which was 1994, I picked up a small brand as a rep in the Northwest called One Sport. And they were primarily a backpacking company. They did a lot of hiking stuff. About 64% of their product went into REI. And they came out with a trail shoe, one trail shoe. And I was at the OR show, and I tried this shoe on, And I went out and ran in it, and I was like, you know, this is perfect for what we're doing out there. It was better than anything else I'd run on. And compared to what's out there now for us, it was a pretty crappy shoe. But I ended up picking up that brand and started selling it in the Northwest. And so I started taking that brand out to the trails and using it as an excuse to be at the ultra running events and put together, grab some of my friends, and I'm like, you gotta start doing these trail races with me, you know, and they're like, are you crazy? I'm like, no, this is, you can do it. It's like, you know, there's 75 other people doing these 50-mile races, you can do it too. And it turned out at that time, which was around about 1994, there wasn't a whole lot of people out there necessarily competing and running fast. And there was about 3 or 4 people in the Northwest that we started throwing bets at each other and stuff like that, mainly for who was buying beers that night and stuff like that. But we started having a little kind of competition with each other. And so I put together a small team called the One Sport Team in the Northwest with a couple of my friends, a guy named Dave Terry, a guy from Vancouver named Rob Lang, and started to actually sell more shoes that way, and started to get some inroads into this trail running sport where there really was not any competition. There really weren't a whole lot of shoes out there specifically geared towards running on the trails. And with that success, the brand itself was going through an evolution, and they were changing their name, and they needed a way to put their new name out on the map. And that new name that One Sport was transitioning into is a brand called Montrail. And so in 1995, while it was still One Sport, they started pulling me into the office because they were based out of Seattle and asking me about, you know, how do we get more people on this shoe? How do we build our name out there? We have this guy from San Diego who's got all these tattoos and a fallen mohawk. His name's Ben Hyen. You know, what do you think of this guy? And is he a good image for us? And so they pulled him into the office, and I went and met with him. We ended up signing a small contract with a gentleman out of San Diego named Ben Hyen. And at that time, I also read an article in Outside Magazine about this guy named Tim Tweetmeyer that had been winning races at some crazy race out in California called the Western States 100-mile event. And kind of in the middle of the article, he mentioned how he was doing these races and winning this 100-mile race, but yet he didn't have any shoe sponsors. So I'm on the phone. There's no internet and Google at the time, right? I'm calling all these people, and I'm like, hey, do you know this guy Tim Tweetmeyer? Do you know how I can get his phone number? And so I'm like literally cold calling Tim Tweetmeyer and these guys and saying, hey, Tim, I'm working with this brand called One Sport. We're going to be Montrail, you know, and I already didn't have any shoe sponsorship. Are you interested in trying out these shoes? And he's got very engaged in the whole process. And so then, next thing I know, One Sport is offering me a job to go out and market this shoe. And it's one shoe. This is a $3 million a year company. And so no budget to work with in a sport that really there's not a whole lot of sales happening yet. And the idea was to really go out and promote their new name, Montrail, and put it on the map. And trail running is actually what did that for this brand, and I think most of you know the brand Montrail this day. And the trail running venue and the marketing to this sport took that company from 1996 at $3 million in sales to less than 5 years later to over $15 million in sales through marketing to the trail running, the sport of trail running. But at that time, it was really interesting. It was really a very regional sport, and nobody really knew each other at all. And so I decided that with no money, I got to go out and get to know the nice people in all these different territories that are willing to run on shoes and sleep on the ground and travel along with me with no money, and try to make something happen with it. And what was great was for like 3 years, there was nobody else out there that was marketing to the trail running venue. And so it made it really easy. I mean, there was no competition. It was really easy to win when you don't have anybody racing with you, right? Or competing with you. And it was really neat because I would go out to Mountain Masochist on the East Coast, and I brought Scott Jurek and Rob Lang and Kirk Apt from Colorado out And we'd show up 2 days early and help David Horton load all his trucks and mark his course and get ready for the event. And then we would give away shoes and run the race and hand out water bottles afterwards. And next thing you know, we kind of had this regional sport crossing over into more of a national sport. And people from the East Coast getting to know people with Colorado. And part of what I did when I was doing this, marketing to the ultra running world, was to get people from the East Coast to come out to races in the West Coast, get free entries, pick them up at the airport, and give them support. And if I wasn't running myself, because you can only run so many events here, I'd pace or I'd provide crew for those individuals. And and pretty soon it became that Montreal was kind of this big fish in this small pond. And they were a very small company, but in the ultra running world, everybody seemed to be using the brand. And what we really did, the shoe wasn't that great, the Montreal Vitesse. It never really was that great a shoe. But we created kind of this image for the brand and kind of this camaraderie in the sport of ultra running. And next thing you know, about 2.5, 3 years later, I'm losing bids for Western states with the North Face because I didn't have the money to compete on that level monetarily. But there's a few people in this room still, like Dave Mackey here was just reminding me, he said, hey Scott, I just found this email back from like 1998 when you were emailing me from One Sport. And I was primarily supporting Dave as a outward bound instructor, and the fact that he ran really well, I'm like, here, you gotta try these shoes, and here's a shirt, by the way. And along with the energy we put into it, all of a sudden Patagonia's approaching me and wanting to team up with us, Cliff and Ultimate Directions, and so we kind of got this team thing going on. And I think the North Face, all of a sudden Topher Gaylord and Dean Carnazes started showing up together with a few other people, and then Basque started putting together a team, and ACG, and pretty soon it kind of became this team sport with a lot of camaraderie and whatnot. But it was really neat to watch the sport go from this regional kind of thing where people were doing their own thing in their own areas and getting people to come together in different parts of the country. And when I left Montreal and bought a store in Seattle in 1999, I took over the White River 50-mile race and immediately applied for national championships for that event, and came up with about $10,000 in prize money and sponsorship, and invited 24 different athletes from around the country to come and stay at our ski club. And it was really neat to watch Ann Tracy go, hey, is that Scott Jurek over there? And then Robin Axel from Wyoming going, hey, oh, is that Courtney Campbell over there? And then Courtney going, hey, there's Ann Tracy over there. And then Scott Jurek going, hey, there's Eric Clifton over there. And I'm like, yeah, so what, you guys, it's like, and it was really neat to kind of see the sport kind of come together and watch this whole competitive aspect develop within the sport. And, today I think trail running is probably one of the most marketed venues in the outdoor and sporting goods world right now. And it's neat to see Russ and Franny taking the lead in developing something out here on the East Coast that is also going to help support the competitive side of the sport and bring people together within our sport. Because it's what I like about it, my time within this particular sport, is all the people I've met over the years. And so, I applaud you guys for making another event that's bringing people together. Gil and Franny was one of the early Montreal runners as well, and then Gil came on board, and then they opened their shop, and we had a lot of communication through those days, and had a lot of similar philosophies in the way we did retail. And, so it's great to be here, and I appreciate the time with the mic.
Thank you. No problem. Thank you. Thanks, Scott. I really want to take a second to have Scott involved because I have no clue where sponsorship started in other sports, for athletes. So it's kind of neat to be able to see the guy that actually started it, for this particular sport. We're going to keep things going. We got a lot of people, including all of us, that want to get to bed. So we're going to move this along pretty quickly. I can't speak for Andy and how long he'll talk, but I promise you on my end, I'm going to keep it going quickly. Next thing we're going to do real quick, I told these guys that we wouldn't put them on the spot, and I completely lied. No, I'm joking. Now, all we want to do, we're going to pass the mic. Just tell them who you are, where you're from. If you want to say something, fine. If you don't, we don't expect it. If you want to give it to Andy, we're just going to ask you guys a few questions. But really, most importantly, this is an opportunity to ask anything. I mean, you ask anything you want, to ask. They're here. That's how, as an athlete, I remember back when picking people's brains, been doing it longer, faster, better than I have. There's always a way to pick somebody's brain and learn a little something. So we'll start right here.
Scott Gall from Cedar Falls, Iowa.
Hi, I'm Dave James from, Phoenix, Arizona now. Run for Innovate and for Targo Generate, which you can buy at GNC.
I can't do that. Dave Mackey, I'm from the Bay Area currently.
I'm Jeff Rose. I live in Colorado and Alaska. Colorado in the winter, Alaska in the summer.
I'm Ian Shaman. I'm from the UK, but I live in Oregon now.
I'm Devin Crosby Helms. I live in San Francisco.
I'm Jordan Whitlock, and I live in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Michael Owen, I live in Palmer, Ohio.
Eric Grossman, live in Emory, Virginia.
Andy Felton, Scottsdale, Arizona.
Arizona. Jonathan Basham, I currently live in Greenwater, Washington.
Jason Braun, I live in Elkin, North Carolina, run for La Sportiva. Recently taken a shower in the rain, a mud puddle, and a trout stream. Different nights.
I'm Allison Bryant. I'm also from North Carolina. And for some reason, I'm married to the man next to me.
Brad Hinton, Stevenson City, Virginia.
Jeremy Page from Rockville, Maryland.
John Allen from Greenville, South Carolina.
Eric Buckley from St. Louis, and I run in memory of my sister Carol, who died from ALS a few years back at the age of 40.
Troy Shellhammer from Louisville, Kentucky. Neil Gorman, Washington, D.C.
Matt Flaherty from Chicago, Illinois.
Andy Jones Wilkins. Andy Jones Wilkins from Charlottesville, Virginia. Formerly Ketchum, Idaho, Bay Area, Phoenix, and Philadelphia. Thrilled to be here. Wish I was running. Although knowing that on this panel we have the Western States course record holder, one of the few people to ever run down Pikes Peak faster than Matt Carpenter, a Barkley finisher, and I think long trail course record holder. Am I right on that? And a variety of other dignitaries. I'm glad I'm not running, and I'll be out tweeting and playing in the rain with everybody else. But I thought we might start with a little bit of commentary from some of you. There's been a little bit of chatter about the course. In my opinion, well, we'll leave my opinion to other sources, but this race is going to be a true test. If I'm not mistaken, we've got a fair amount of road, we've got a fair amount of hills, we've got some gnarly East Coast rocks, we've got some ups and downs and some sticky, nasty stuff. How have some of you prepared for that? We'll start with the long trail Barkley finisher guy.
Well, originally my plans were this summer to run, to go out and chase Brett Mounty's John Muir Trail speed record. And that fell through just basically because of the record snowfall. And then my wife and I moved from Pennsylvania out to Washington, and so I was training for this, and kind of the races were falling out and didn't know what I was going to do. And Scott McCoopy called and said, hey, you want to go to Virginia and run UROC? So that's what I did. That's how I got here. And so I didn't necessarily train for UROC. It was all my training has been geared towards going after the John Muir speed trail record, and running 53 miles a day. That was the goal.
So basically, since you didn't do that, you're here to win. All right. Now down here we have a couple of guys. Last year's Ultra Running Magazine Ultra Runner of the Year, and at least from my perspective, which counts as very little, the front runner for this year's Ultra Runner of the Year award. And so let's hear from Jeff Rose, Western States course record holder, 2010 and 2009 Ultra Runner of the Year. Your thoughts on this course? And why you're here after you're really supposed to be taking a break.
I mean, the course, I don't pay attention to what courses are like. I found out today what the course is like. But I'm excited. I'll figure out tomorrow how to run this particular course, I think. And yeah, I was going to take a long break. I emailed Gil a little bit after UTMB last month and said, I can't do it. I need a long break. And I took 10 days off and then started running again. And it took me about 50 feet of running, where I was like, maybe I want to do UROC still. and then it just kind of slowly came together, and now I'm here.
All right, thank you, Jeff. And you've had success here in the Virginia Hills. Dave, thoughts on the course?
I'm actually excited for it. Something different. I run in Virginia a couple times, like the Mountain Masochist, and this course is different than that. Way more vertical, and obviously there's more roads, but I'm actually excited for the roads because it's going to be hilly, and I love hills. And I think my footwear, I actually look forward to the pavement a lot. I want to see how well it treats my legs.
So, I have one comment on this guy. So
I just have to
think about the moon boots.
The moon boots. This is one interesting man. I have to say, you got to really get to know Dave to truly appreciate Dave. So he is in school currently to be medical school physician assistant program, that sort of thing. So he and I've got to be friends over the internet, and my background, believe it or not, is in biology too, cardiovascular. We have been going back and forth for the last month asking each other cardiovascular physiology questions over the internet. So anybody that thinks these aren't smart people who also run ultra distances, they need to get to know some of these.
I started on one of those. Exchanges with him too, and I just sort of pressed delete. So, but this is great. So with JB, Jeff, and Dave here, we're going to do a little survey. And we'll get to the female competitors in a second, but with the male competitors, marathon PRs. Raise your hand if it's 2:45 or below. Hands up. 2:45 or below. Keep them up. Oh yeah, you can. Oh yeah. I have a special treat for you. 2:40 or below. Bam, bam, bam. 2:35 or below. You get the picture here? Okay, where's the 2:34? 2:34 just went down? No. Anyone go down on 2:34? Anyone go down on 2:33? 2:32.
2:22.
2:22. Matt Flaherty.
right here. 220.
See how they're one opposite end of each other.
220.
Qualified for all right.
2:20 and 2:22.
Yeah. Where's Wardy?
2:18 for Wardy.
17.
Is he 17 now?
17.
59.
They qualified.
What do you think of the course?
Oh, I think,
The second part.
Yeah. I think it's a good mix of everything. So, if you want to bring everyone together and have a ultra championship of a lot of the elite guys, you're throwing dirt, grass, pavement, hills, all that together, sweet.
What's your marathon PR, Devin?
2:43.
How long did it take you to get here today?
15 hours.
And you took airplanes? We'll come back to you. Matt, 2:22. Thoughts on the course?
I would say I agree with Scott. I think it's going to be interesting because it's Scott, right? Okay, just Matt.
In ultra running, when in doubt, their name's Scott.
No, it's fun.
Sure,
and I think some of the higher races in Colorado and Utah and stuff can be a challenge for people from sea level. So that's not an issue here either. So yeah, it really is a good mix for everybody no matter what your discipline or background or where you live, can come and try to be competitive. So look forward to it.
And is this uncharted territory for you?
Not exactly. I did well, actually 100K is, yes. I did a 50 miler last weekend though. And it went well. So,
everybody get that? That was the weekend before now.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm feeling good.
Tapered in, ready to roll. Because I imagine you went slowly. What was your 50-mile time in that 50 miler last weekend?
5:59 or 6 hours flat. I'm unsure. Official.
Attaway. Neil, you were part of the process of getting this whole thing rolling. He's also, by the way, the Grand Slam of ultra running. I think people in the room know about that. That's the 400 milers, historic 100 milers, starting in western states, moving east to Vermont, then out to the high country in Leadville and finishing in Wasatch. Neil last year became the Grand Slam record holder, edging out Joe Kulak with a great race at Wasatch, pounding me into the ground at Vermont. Neil then worked along with Jeff and Gil and Franny and everybody else to get this race going. Neil, how are you feeling going into tomorrow?
Well, since I'm volunteering, I'm feeling pretty good.
Oh, you're not running?
No.
Then how'd you get a spot on the panel?
I have no idea.
I had to stand here with the microphone since I dropped from PF.
He'll be working tomorrow.
Yeah, Gil's putting me to work. How I feel about the race in general, though, is
Exactly.
pretty good. I'm from Virginia, so I'm a Virginia boy, and it's really exciting to see a race like this develop in general, but also develop here in Virginia. And also, I'm moving to Charlottesville soon, so that's kind of new. And so I'll be a local, very local guy. And I'm also friends with Gil and Francesca, so it's really nice to see friends have a dream, work to develop it, and see it to fruition, and now look at all these great runners and happy faces. So congrats to everybody.
All right, thanks Neil. And Charlottesville, I think you're actually going to move somewhat close to my school.
Yeah.
We have a married couple running. Allison's not running, but Jason is, and ready to rip it. What are you thinking going into tomorrow? You told me earlier today you like the rocks, you like the competition.
Yeah, guess what drew me to the race? I've been up here a few times for Gil and Francesca's races. I really like them. Some of the others have been a lot more of trail and rough stuff, and that's kind of what I like. But I talked to some friends because I talked to Gil in the summer, and I was like, oh man, I don't know about the road, but I think sometimes you have to challenge yourself on stuff that's not exactly your thing, and the road's not quite my thing. But I've been, trying to get geared up and ready for that section of the race. Probably more mentally. Sometimes overcoming our difficulties is more of a mental challenge and a mental thing to overcome, and so that's kind of what I've been working on, and looking forward to battling some of those demons.
Right on, Jason. Anybody else in the panel? Anybody in the panel graduate from college in the last 4 months? Raise your hand. Oh, Michael! 22 years old. Just finished a collegiate career at Sewanee State. Ran in the, I didn't know this, but there's evidently a marathon in college track and field. He ran at this past spring and ran a 2:30. But of course, that was 6 months after running the North Face 50 mile in San Francisco. Finished 9th. I don't know, probably 5th American. These days, maybe 4th American. So you got some big dogs here, Michael. Feeling intimidated?
I guess you could say that.
Yeah, boy.
Well, my first ultra in San Francisco was, I could have gotten intimidated about that, but my mindset was just, if I got in a race with these good guys, and if I just ran with them, then I wouldn't finish half bad.
Okay, so from 22 years old, just out of college, anybody on the panel have 4 kids? I interviewed Brad. I have 3. He's definitely faster than me. Brad, coming into today, you're ready to rip one, aren't you?
can make it. I kind of feel like the kid that showed up to school with only his underwear on with these studs up here. No, it's, I'm just a guy, with a beautiful, supportive wife and a lot of kids who likes to run. And yeah, this is great. I mean, I guess I'm kind of local. I'm only about 2 hours away, and so this is really special. I really am looking forward to the opportunity. And I'm just going to swing for the fence and either strike out or hit a home run or DNF or something. But it'll be enjoyable whenever it happens.
Right on. Thank you, Brad. So down at this end of the table, we have two additional kind of interesting characters. We have two of the fastest 100-mile runners around, at least based on the last year or so. Dave James ran a 13:06 split at the North Coast 24-hour run. He proceeded to run, I think, a mile or so after that, and he speaks with an American accent. So coming into this, after running something like that and a bunch of other stuff this year, including representing the USA over in Ireland, how are you feeling coming into tomorrow?
I'm excited to be here. Jeff invited me down here in March, and it's really cool that we get everyone together here, and that was in 2009 when I was running college cross country, so I'm just excited to be here.
It took you a long time to get through college.
It's going to be an awesome race. I ran some of the course today. They did a great job putting it together, and it's just really cool that we can do this on the East Coast, born and raised in New York, so it's awesome that we can do this on the East Coast here.
And it feels quite cool to you, I imagine, this evening after that summer in Arizona.
Tights this morning.
And while I know I've tipped my cap a bit in my comments about Dave Mackey as the sort of front runner for Ultra Runner of the Year, I don't think I'm alone in, at least as of now, a performance on American soil as the performance of the year is Ian Sharman's 12:44 for 100 miles at the Rocky Raccoon way back in February. 12:44 for 100 miles. That's give or take a little. 7:30 miles for 100 miles. So Ian, how are you feeling coming into this race?
I feel like I've got to do something else because that's what everyone says about me, and they have nothing else to say about me. I wish I could go as quick as that in the race. That would work pretty well, but it's just good to have a really good bunch of fast guys and girls here, and it looks like it's going to be a really well-organized, fun event. So I haven't got any predictions about how well I'll do or other people, but I'm going to give it my best. So I gave up the World 100K roads to do this instead, because this looked more fun. So that says something about it, I think.
All right. Well, that will be interesting. And I'm sure many of you have done math, and you're pretty much, you should see him around 6:45 coming across the finish. Now, I think we have quite a bit of talent on this panel, but one person who's particularly talented in her preparation of cuisine. If you've followed fast foodie cooks on Twitter, as I have, in addition to being able to document her entire trip here today, you know that Devin is an extraordinary foodie. So before you talk about what you're going to plan, your plan is for tomorrow's race, what are you going to eat tonight? Or what have you eaten tonight? Or more to the point, what are you going to eat tomorrow night? And what are you going to prepare for the rest of us?
I don't think you can afford me. I usually eat steak and potatoes before a race. And afterwards, I usually spend about 45 miles thinking about what I'm going to eat after the race. But if I'm running with other people, I'm not allowed to talk about it until the last 10 miles. So don't ask me unless you want to suffer for the entire race, because I'll think of something really good and you won't be able to think of anything else. So.
And your plan for the race? You figure out your shoes yet?
Yes, I did, thank you. Actually, I went with what I originally thought, because I didn't know anything about the course until I actually looked at the profile. And being from the West Coast, Blue Ridge Parkway doesn't inherently mean anything to me, so I had to ask.
Sorry about that.
And they're like, just look at the profile. I'm like, that doesn't need anything. We don't have parkways. So yes, I figured out my shoes, and my plan is to just not quit.
Good. Thank you, Devin. Let's see, down here, a couple of, Troy Shellhammer is going to put the hammer down tomorrow, is what he told me, from Louisville, Kentucky. Troy's another one of the dark horses. Marathon PR. He's never done a marathon. Skipped straight to 100K. Troy, thoughts going into tomorrow? What are you looking forward to?
I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a great mix, and the road's going to be exciting because it's road, but it's involving a lot of climbing, so it's going to be awesome. I'm excited.
All right, and Eric, I have not met you. Andy Jones-Wilkins here. How are you? You have some ideas for tomorrow? You have your shoes figured out?
I do.
Nutrition plan?
Whatever's in
1 bottle or 2? All right. Where are you from? And, well, you said that already. What, do you have a time goal?
I don't know, I always just kind of run it by feel. I find if I look at my watch, I end up killing myself, so it's just better just to go with what feels right. I wish we had maps, though, because I'm much better when I'm navigating. I'm really an orienteer. I'm really not sure why I'm up here.
Jeff will have a map.
Oh yeah, but I mean, you don't need it because the trail's fine. When you actually have to use the map, I'm much better. There you go.
Have you run in Virginia before?
Not that I recall. I don't think so.
All right. John Allen, South Carolina, by way of Logan, Utah. 4 50-milers this year. Hang on, no. John Allen. 5 trail races this year, hasn't yet lost.
With the DNF.
Oh, sorry. A what? 5 wins and a DNF. So they're basically canceled out. So you're gonna win tomorrow?
There's a lot of competition here, so I wouldn't, I think everyone here is gonna go out and do their best. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Jonathan, your publicist has trained you well. Come on, man. You laid it out in the interview. You going out hard?
I'm gonna go out what I think I can sustain for 100K.
Yeah, come on, man.
Hey, I'm recovering. I haven't had much sleep this week.
All right. Jeremy, my first interview today. Thoughts going into tomorrow? You gonna hang with Jonathan? You've lost a race this year, haven't you? He beat you, but no DNFs.
I passed him at Old Dominion when he was suffering.
And that's why you dropped.
I told him to keep going, but no, it should be fun. There's a lot of talent here, and I've done well in my Virginia races. I've done Belmonte this year, MMT and Old Dominion, so it's my 4th Virginia race, so it should be fun.
Marathon PR?
I've never really trained to run a fast marathon.
There's a trend emerging here. Be interesting. We'll have to run the results with marathon PRs versus how they end up doing. Let's see. Andy? Is it Andy?
Correct.
Andy Felton. Where are you from?
Arizona.
Yeah. Oh. Which part?
Scottsdale.
That's it. Run on what used to be called Squaw Peak when I lived out there?
Yeah, I don't know the name of it.
Yeah.
Really.
North Mountain or South Mountain? Where do you train more often? Or like McDowell's?
Yeah, McDowell's.
So you got a plan for tomorrow?
Just go out and have fun. Yeah.
You want to help Devin with her dinner preparations? What was your last race?
Zane Grey. So a long time ago.
Oh, so you're primed and ready.
Sure.
And this is just like Zane Grey. I mean, same distance, that's for sure.
Give or take.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It should be fun. Totally different terrain.
Have you run out here before?
Not specifically in Virginia. On the East Coast, yeah. But,
All right.
so I'm excited.
Let her rip. Jordan, where are you from?
Lynchburg, Virginia.
Woo. Are you one of the Hortonites?
I am. I actually took his running class. Hort is my hero.
All right, is Hort here? Can you tell us about that? I mean, is it fun? Did you actually get a grade?
You do get a grade. It's not even.
get away calling it a class?
I don't know. I don't know how he gets paid to do that. Like it was pretty much the hardest class I ever took. Like you go there, like his runs are all different too. Like we would like. His runs are not normal runs. Like he always has to lead first of all. Just, always lead, and then like you're running somewhere and you're straight up the mountain, and then you're climbing boulders. Like it's not a set course. You're always going through.
Yeah. That must be lovely. Yeah. So how many ultras have you done?
I've done.
Inspired by Dr. David. Have you gone over 50
He got me
miles?
started in the ultras.
Over 50
I've done,
miles?
Yeah, I did the 100 mile actually.
Which one?
This July, the Burning River 100 USATF Championship.
And?
I was 6th place there. So I was behind a lot of these guys.
Yeah, Jordan. Well, I think Cordy would be proud. Well, he'll be more proud tomorrow. And I think we just have one left. Right? Yes, indeed. Eric Grossman. Won Iron Mountain, was it 3 weeks ago? Iron Mountain, 50 miler, course record. Yeah. Before that, DNF did 600 or 700 miles. But how are you feeling? How are you feeling about? Sorry, one. Sometimes I get carried away. Eric and I go back a long way. Eric, what advice would you have for the youngins here in the panel? And the young, Mr. just got out of college, could be our kid, Michael over there. What advice would you have for the youngins going into this race tomorrow?
What I like to say about the race is that it has something to hurt everybody. Everybody else is talking about how much fun it's going to be, the variety. I'm thinking, for the technical guys, it's got the road to pound them into submission, and for the fast guys, it's got the brutal climbs and the rocks and the water and the mud. So I think there's going to be something just to put just about everybody down. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, on that note, I'm putting everybody down. We'll move along. Now, first of all, let's give everybody a big round of applause. I do want to take just an extra minute. We're going to get everybody to bed, including myself, in 5 or 6 hours. But anyway, just real quickly, questions. Anybody want to ask a question? You kind of heard a lot tonight, but we want to give you an opportunity to interact a little bit if you got something, and we'll pass the mic.
I'm curious what Chef Roche does for a living.
You gonna give it away for the mic?
Yeah, listen, I'd like to ask you guys, since we do have a lot of fast runners, I would like to know what is the prediction time you think you're gonna win this thing?
Oh, yes.
Prediction time.
8 hours.
8 hours? Under 8 hours?
I run for
What was that, Maggie? What was it?
8 hours is not going to happen. I saw the first 6 miles of the course today.
Yeah, I think someone's gonna run under 8 hours now.
They're going to let it video.
Well, if they run a lot faster, you're on your own for aid stations, because that's what we've calculated. Questions?
I have a survey question. How many people's resting pulse is under 35? And what's your maximum pulse?
Who doesn't know? Who doesn't know their
It's on the hill, right?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Few more?
I'm running my first ultra tomorrow, so if you could give all the young people who have never run an ultra before one piece of advice, not just for tomorrow's race, but for any ultra, what would that piece of advice be? Anybody can answer.
Eat and drink.
Okay, besides eating and drinking.
People don't do that, right, Jay? People forget to eat and drink sometimes at ultras, don't they, Dave? Then they get run down.
Seriously, I think a lot of
Anyways.
I think a lot of people on this panel aren't familiar with the end of the field that struggles with that. I am. I'm newer to the sport, and keep moving. People are too quick to sit down at an aid station and just sit there. And the longer you sit, the more you stiffen up, the less you want to keep going again. Keep moving. Don't stop. If you have to walk, walk. Fine, but keep moving.
Good point. Countless miles.
I'm actually curious. A lot of people kind of are nonchalantly like, I didn't really check out the course. I don't really know anything about it. I'm actually curious, maybe by show of hands, and then if someone wanted to say something, who actually has run at least maybe like more than 5 miles of the course. And I know like Jordan's just down in Lynchburg, who might have really scouted out the course versus just going blind. So.
What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get here yesterday, so I ran probably 7-8 miles of it. I did 3 runs on it yesterday and 1 today.
And then Eric has seen a lot of it in the years past, ran the way, the mountain, just trails.
I spoke about that already, but yeah. I actually am not real familiar. I looked at the breakdown that was listed on the website in terms of the amount of road and trail and gravel, that kind of thing. And fortunately, it matches pretty well with the Iron Mountain 50-mile trail run in Damascus, Virginia. That was 3 weeks ago. A couple of us ran. So hopefully that'll help, because I actually don't know for sure what I'm in for tomorrow.
All right, one more, maybe 2. Anybody? There he is, Bob, the local. He lives on this mountain.
Who's going to fire out and be king of the hill tomorrow?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, we have a couple of competitions within the competition. That's a very good point. So at 5.5, there's a king and queen of the mountain. And anybody want to step up and say they're going to claim that? Are you really that dumb to say that?
I'll say something.
Where? Who was it? Where's Devin? Devin?
Michael Lordian sent an email asking if that person had to finish, so he's at least thinking about it.
Well, let me tell you, he's not here, right, Mike? Are you here? No, good. I talk about Mike. The first thing he does is sends me an email. You can tell where this guy's mind comes from, the world he likes to play in. He goes, now, Gil, that person's got to finish, right? Because if I find somebody out there went up there and got that and they dropped out 5 miles later, I'm going to want that cash. Michael Warden for you. That it? Anybody else? Last one. Last chance. All right, big round of applause. Thank you guys.